Hey everybody, so today we are going to be going over Cloud Shell a little bit. So what I would really like to do is show you how to access it, how to use it, give you a couple of examples, and then we're going to work through I'm going to basically mishmash together two code labs to kind of show you how it can be used. The key takeaway, if you don't want to watch the whole thing, you can do pretty much anything in the Cloud Shell that you can through the Cloud Console, which is the nice little web page that you're going to be seeing. So without further ado, hopefully my head doesn't hide too much here for you, and I'm going to have to move a little bit. But here on the left, I've got two tabs with two different code labs. They're both Cloud Shell related. On the right here is my Google Cloud environment. And let me move myself for one moment here just to show you where we want to be, and then I'll move back so they don't hide anything. But the things that we care about here are getting Cloud Shell up and running. So the first one here, I'll link in the video as well. So I'll link both of these code labs in the description and in the lab, or sorry, in the blog. But we have getting started with Cloud Shell and G-Cloud. The other one, we're going to be playing around with BigQuery a little bit, something we'll talk about way later on. But I'll put links to both of these if you want to try them out yourself. So here, we have basically getting started with Cloud Shell. Now, this is a very, very powerful tool. If you have ever used Bash or PowerShell or DOS or anything like that, basically it's a terminal environment baked right into Google Cloud, which is nice. So I'm going to skip through here. And what do we need to, sorry, I was scrolled already. We need to get going in our Cloud Shell. So it's this icon right here. And it says activate Cloud Shell when you hover over it. I'm going to click it. And then I get a little pop-up here at the bottom. Now I'm going to move my head back so that we can see everything okay. But you see a terminal environment right in your browser, right? And it accepts common Linux bash commands. So I could type ls to see what's inside. I could type touch file, and then I can use vim if I want. Hello there, CIS680. So we have a normal, effectively Linux style environment. Some special caveats for Google, obviously, but it should be very familiar if you've ever used Linux before. And if you've never used Linux before, don't worry. Everything we do in class, I will give you the commands that you need. I'm not going to make you go out and learn Linux and then figure this out. You'll have everything at your disposal. So what do we care about here? So we see our username on the left. We see at Cloud Shell. Typically, this would be your machine that you're logged into. Since it's our Cloud Shell, it just says at Cloud Shell. The tilde is where you are currently located. And then in yellow here, this is where it differentiates from most Linux environments. This is what project you are currently set to use. Now, Cloud Shell is going to be tied to whichever active project you have going in your account. If you remember, projects are tied to billing accounts. Billing accounts are what you pay for. Projects, you can separate out your different activities that you're doing. You should only have one project at this point. If you have more, that's because you went and added more. But basically everything I do in here will be charged to this project, or sorry, the billing account tied to this project. Now, if I want to change this project, I can, right, in Cloud Shell. So let's scroll down here, and we see some of our setup commands and our requirements. So first things first, I'm going to type in gcloud auth list. And we're going to see what account is currently active. So it's going to be my account that my billing is tied to, basically. And then if I wanted to change that, right, maybe I wanted to use a different user account, it actually tells you right here, gcloud config set account, other account. Right, I'm happy with this one because this is my Google Cloud email that I use. Right. Now, if I want to change the project, which is kind of what I was getting to before, I could first say gcloud config list project. So the command here is gcloud, and then I'm saying configuration list project, right? So it's very, very verbose. Actually, let me run this again. So I'm going to type clear to get rid of everything. I'm going to hit up a couple times so I don't have to retype everything. Enter. So I see that the current project is this project, right? And if you forgot from last time, how do we find out what this is? Again, it is tied to your project here. So when you created the project or when you renamed it, you should have seen what the project ID is. I could just as easily change it to, say, Fredericks-GFX, which is my, a cloud account that I have for another class. Actually, let's do that just to show you how this works. So let's say that I don't want to use this project anymore, right? I have something else I want to work on. I don't want to have to log out and log back in. Um, I don't want to change my project, close cloud shell, change my project, relaunch it, and then do that. Let's just do it manually here. So I can say, let's move my mouse, gcloud config set project Fredericks-GFX. Updated property, and now I see that this has changed to this project. I now have access to all the resources for that project ID, right? And again, that's here in the code lab as well. Now, I want to use my 680 project, so let's hit up, change this back to CIS680 main project. And this will be different for all of you as well. You have your own project IDs. If you try to use mine, you'll get an access denied error because I haven't given you access to it. So we changed it back. Good, good. All right, so we have a command line environment here to play with, right? So if I need help, right, if I need information on what is available, I can say gcloud-h. And then we get a nice Linux manual style command of what gcloud can do for us. So if I want to work with authorization, if I want to work with containers, if I want to work changing configurations, if I want to play with network management, basically the key takeaway here is that, well, I guess there's two takeaways. First, gcloud is a command that you run to interact with Google services. When I run gcloud-h, that tells me here are all the flags, all the different properties I can tweak for this command, right? You saw me change my project ID. You saw me look at my account that I'm logged in as, and I could change it as well, all with the gcloud command. Now, what this is going to basically do is anything Google service related, I would type gcloud something, right? That is Google specific here. But again, you have your common Linux commands available to you as well. Again, ls, everything that I see, lists the contents of the directory. You see here I have a hello world directory. It's in blue, it's a directory. I can type change directory or cd, hello world. Now I'm in hello world. We see our path update. So again, tilde is the home directory that we have. I'm now in hello world. I can run commands inside my hello world directory. Again, this is not intended to be an intro to Linux terminal. There's lots of other resources out there for that. But just be aware, you have your standard Linux commands, and then you have your gcloud commands. And gcloud is, again, specific to Google here. And if you're, I'm going to keep saying stuff like little tidbits like this because it drives me nuts watching over people's shoulders as they type everything out in Linux. If I typed cd hello world, so if I wanted to go into this folder, I just type H and then I hit tab, and then it auto completes. If I had multiple things starting with H, I just hit tab twice and it would give me the listing of everything there. So a little bit of an aside. So that gives us a little bit of help with gcloud. If I want more help, say with the config command, I could say gcloud config -- help. And then, hey, here is everything that I can configure with gcloud. So that's gcloud config help, and that's here in the code lab. And the -- help is a very common way to get help. gcloud also allows you to say gcloud help config. You get the same thing. I'm going to hit Q to exit out of there. And that's basically just getting help. I could do gcloud, just hitting gcloud-h. I could say, let's say I want to do something with machine learning. So gcloud ml -- help. Here's everything machine learning related that I can do with gcloud. And again, a nice Linux manual style format. So that's how you get help. couple of other things too. Um, Now we looked at our project IDs, we looked at our user IDs, we looked at help. Now let's say that we want to list some of the different configurations that we have, right? So you can actually get this out of that manual that we saw. But if I run gcloud config list, here is everything that we have configured for the current environment, right? So here we have information, say, about our timeout for the Google Compute Engine. Here's my core information, right? So that's my account. Here's my project ID. Basically, these are all effectively environment variables that are set. So these are all, kind of behind the scenes there for your various services. So we are at 10 minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this video up into two parts. So this was just getting used to Cloud Shell. And again, if you need the summary, gcloud is the command you will use to interact with pretty much all of Google services from the terminal. You still have your typical Linux commands available to you as well. So in part two, we're going to go over a little bit of BigQuery and actually using this to show you how it can be basically used in kind of a real world setting. Um, if you have questions about Linux commands and all of that, I'm not going to strictly cover a generic intro to that. I would hope at this point you already know that kind of thing. If you don't, I'll try to provide some resources for you for that. So, hope you had a good time. No, I did. So blessed. And I will see you in part two.